Okay, the recording has been started. So in the last session, in 1 week ago, almost 8 days ago, we were discussing about. I have just started discussing about the static context in Java, and again, it is categorized into four types. One is we have static variables, we have static methods. So these two are completed, and today we are going to see about the static blocks in detail. So after completing this, we'll discuss about the static input, which is going to be very easy. Right? Let us understand about static blocks. Let me give you some theory. So the static blocks are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory. Okay? Instead of memory, I can say it as the JVM. The first point. The second major point is it gets executed automatically. So, automatically. Which means the developer, from the developer side, developer will not execute it explicitly. It always gets executed automatically. This is also the very important point. These 2 points are very important. Okay? So the syntax of the static blocks. Syntax of the static block. If you have an ordinary block, okay, just take a block and place the static keyword in the beginning of the block, right? Just by placing the static keyword in the beginning of a block is called as what? It is called as a static block. So this is the static. This is the static block. So these things are. This is static block, right? So let us understand this better with a small Java program. So I have a class A and I have a main method, and let me take a static block. Okay. If you ask me where you can take the static block, you can take the static block or you can write a static block inside the class but outside the method. These are called as the class level blocks. This is valid, but when you do this, it becomes invalid. This becomes what? This becomes invalid. Okay. So these are the things about what? These are things about the static block. So you can place it inside the class, but you cannot place it inside a method. Inside a method. So this is the importance of static block. If I take a static block, let us understand its execution. Okay. Let me take like system dot out dot println. Okay. This is the static. Right, and let me keep another statement inside the main method. So this is the main method. Main method. Okay. What did I just say? The static blocks are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the JVM. It gets executed automatically. You do not have to call it explicitly. Developers do not have to call it explicitly. So this is syntax of the static block, right? And if I just let me save this code file, save as a.java. Okay, so let me show the output, and if you see the output, once I execute this, okay, let me do the compilation. Java C space a.java. Let me perform the execution. Java space. So you get, this is the static block, and you get the main method followed by the instructions that is placed inside the static block. So I used to tell you always that all the instructions inside the main method, only the instructions that are placed inside the main method will get executed. But in this case, you see the output like a kind of violation, right? Because static block is getting executed, then the main method is what the instructions inside the main method is getting executed. So what exactly is happening behind the scenes? Let us understand that. me open the plain screen. So this is a simple code, right? And what do we do usually? You save this code with the .java extension, right? And use the file name which is same as the class name a.java, right? After this, you give an instruction for the compilation java c space a.java, the respective file name .java. Okay, and there is a compiler, and the compiler will perform the compilation as soon as you give this command. Okay, so .java file will be compiled, and it is going to generate what is after the successful compilation. It is going to generate the .class file, a.class file. Okay. After this, we do usually two things, right? There is a compilation and there is an execution. So for the execution part, JVM comes into the picture. How do we activate the JVM? Just by giving the command like java space here, right? The moment you give this, okay, look at this, focus here. You are trying to execute the a.class file, java space a, which means it will look for the a.class file. If there is any a.class file, yes, there is an a.class file. This will be loaded inside the JVM. Okay, this is the command that is going to ensure that which .class file is getting loaded. So you are saying, hey, can you please execute the a.class file? Right? And this typical command will ensure that a.class file will be loaded inside the JVM. How it is going to get loaded? Someone is not on mute. Balaji, please be on mute. Yes. Okay. So this command will ensure that the respective .class file is getting loaded. So this is the .class file. Okay. Java space A. Okay. A.class file has to get loaded inside the JVM. At the time of loading this .class file, inside the class A, the static blocks are recognized and executed at the time of what? At the time of loading the .class file. Remember one thing, guys, this .class file will be loaded only once. Okay, you cannot load it as per your wish. Okay, you can load it only once. It happens automatically. These things are happening automatically. You're not doing anything. Okay, you may be thinking that because of this command, this is getting loaded. Of course, that is correct. Because of this command, the .class file is getting loaded. However, the static blocks are recognized and executed automatically. At the time of loading the .class file, it will check is there any static blocks or not inside the class A. Yes, there is a static block. That static block will be recognized and executed at the time of loading the .class file. That is what I am trying to say. So this is the static block, and what is the instruction that we have inside? Instruction is what? This is the static block. Okay, that will be displayed in the console. First thing. Okay, this is the static block. Static block. Okay, so they get executed automatically. The developer is not calling it explicitly. Developer is not doing anything. Developer is not calling it. He is just writing a piece of code. He has just placed some instructions inside the static block, and at the time of loading the .class file, it is getting recognized and executed. After executing the static block, okay, the main thread gets created, and this main thread get access to the main method, and all instructions will get executed inside the main method. That is the reason why you are getting the output like this is the static block followed by what? Followed by what? The instructions that you have placed in the main method, which is what? The main method, the text message, the main method text message is going to get displayed in the console. After executing this, the main thread gets destroyed and JVM will be shut down. The main thread gets destroyed and the JVM is going to get shut down and the program execution will be completed forever. Okay? We know these things already. We have seen these things many number of times, but today we'll also understand the interaction between the static block and the non-static block, and also we will also understand what would happen when you have two classes in a relationship. Example, let me say I have a class A and I have a class B. So I have two classes, guys, class A and class B, right? I can do what? See, I can write two classes without any relationship. So I am not taking any extends keyword. So inside my class B, let me place a static block. Let me say it like, static, or else static SB of class B, or else let me keep it very simple, SBB, static block B class. Okay, and let me place it like, so this is the static block of A class, SBA. Okay, and this is, let me place it like M1. Now see, focus here. I have two simple classes. I have a class A, I have a class B, and let me separate this main method. I have also a main method. There is a static block. There is a static block inside class B. There is a static block inside class A, and inside class A there is a main method as well. What I'm trying to do, I just want to do something like B obj equal to new, right? If I execute this piece of code, can you guess what would be the output? I just execute this piece of code. Keeping in mind that the static blocks are recognized and executed at the time of loading the .class file to the memory. So keeping that in mind, if I execute this code, what would be the possible output? Anyone can answer, or if you want me to explain, I will explain. Since there is a long gap, I am not expecting.
SSB.
Yes, yes. What is it? Come again. Okay.
SSB, sir. Both will come.
Both will execute it. I mean, can you give me the order? Okay, let me execute this. First, let us see the output. Then we will come to the conclusion. Okay. SBA, MM, SBB. So this is the order. I am expecting the order. What is the order? We are getting SBA, then you get MM, then you are getting SBB. What is happening behind this? See, by looking at the code, you think that okay, these things are very simple. But the problem here is you should understand the sequence of execution. Which block is getting executed first? Which block is getting executed at last? And why these things are happening? Why the one block is getting executed before another? What is happening behind this? Okay. Focus here. So this is a case 2. Okay, let me separate the main method. Okay, let me place this main method over here. Okay, here is the main method. Okay, as usual, we know what we know usually. You save this with what? A.java. Why A.java? Because you have the main method in class A, so it is highly recommended to use the class name, the file name as the respective main class name. Okay. Class A is the main method, so I'm using the A.java, right? After this, I need to compile this, right? Not to compile this, typically the command is what? Java C space A.java, the respective file name. So this is the respective file name, right? So because of this command, you activate what? You activate the compiler. Compiler will be activated. So after this command will activate the compiler, and this command will also ensure that the A.java file is compiled successfully. This A.java is compiled what? Is compiled successfully. Okay. And it is going to produce how many .class files? It is going to produce 2 .class files. Why 2 .class files? How many classes we have? You have class B, you have class A here, right? You have 2 classes, right? For each and every class, one .class file will be produced. So there will be 2 .class files, B.class as well as A.class, right? So compilation is successful, and you need to perform the execution, right? JVM comes into the picture. So typically what you do, the command is java space. You need to load the .class file. Which .class file you have to load? Always remember the class which has the main method. Okay, that .class file has to get loaded always. This is the mandatory. So class A as the main method. Okay, class A as the main method. So you need to ensure that you're loading the A.class file, right? So java space The moment you give this command, okay, you are typically giving an instruction to load the a dot class file inside into the JVM, right? A dot class file will be loaded. At the time of loading this, I said, right, if there are any static blocks that has to get recognized and executed, right? So inside class A, is there any static block? Yes, that is a static block. It will be recognized and executed. The output is going to be what? Yes, E. And it is happening automatically, right? So you are loading one dot class file. With respect to this dot class file, if there are any static blocks inside this class, that will be recognized and executed. Of course, there is a static block that is recognized and executed. Next thing is, right, with respect to the main thread gets created, right? The main thread gets created. Okay, main thread after the creation of the main thread is going to get access to the main method, right? So where is the main method? Here is the main method. Okay. What is the first instruction inside the main method? You have what a simple instruction system.out.println instance which is displaying mm in the console. Right? After this, the second instruction is what? The second instruction is the object creation. Obj equal to new b is the object creation. Right? So to create an object for the class B, right? In order to create an object for the class B, the respective dot class file has to get loaded inside the JVM first. This is getting loaded on demand because Java is a dynamic programming language, right? In the runtime, you are saying that you want to create an object for the class B, but inside the JVM, there is no dot class file of B, right? It has to get loaded, then object gets created. This has to get loaded. And again, at the time of loading the dot class file, the time of loading this dot class file, right? If there is any static block that gets recognized and executed. So there is a static block, right? Inside class B. What is instruction? SBV is the instruction, isn't it? SBV. Right? So dot class file will be loaded. At the time of loading, the static block gets recognized and executed. Then the new keyword will ensure that an object is getting created, and this is going to get a reference variable like obj. Right? And the respective constructor will be called. And the main thread, there are no more instructions. The main thread execution will stop. The main thread gets destroyed. Have you understood so far? Everyone? Yes, no? Able to follow why SBA, MM, SBB?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now one more question here, one follow-up question here. So now you tell me, just think and tell me, right? So everyone makes the mistake here. Everyone is going to make a mistake here. Think wisely and tell me, or think better and tell me. Okay, I am creating objects 2 times. Can someone guess the output? The same program, okay, but what I am doing here is I am just creating an object for the class B for on 2 occasions. One is here and second one is here. Can you just guess the output? What would be the output with the explanation that I have just given?
First, SAP will go execute, sir.
First, yes, AB or SBA, right? SBA.
SBA. Next, SBB.
Next.
SBB, MM, SBB.
Okay, so everyone are making mistakes here. Okay, so very good that you have tried this. Very good that you have tried this. So this is what even I am expecting this. Everyone are expecting this. But if you see the answer will be something different. Okay, this is not it's not going to meet our expectations. Okay, you get SBA, you get SBB, you get what? You get MM. Right? So what is our expectation? SBA, SBE, MM, and again SBB. This SBB is not reflecting in the actual output. So what is happening in this? Okay, focus here. Same program. Okay, let me copy and paste the same thing. Everyone focus here. Same program. I want to take the same program. I just want to remove this. Okay, let me execute it from the beginning only. Okay, if you understand the static blocks, and the interviewer, if he is asking any questions on top of static blocks, and if you are answering it like this, definitely no more questions will be asked from Java. Okay, the actual caliber will be tested upon static blocks and instance blocks, and the interaction between the static blocks and instance blocks, because the static blocks will be used in the real-time applications to load something before actually performing the execution. Like for example, loggers. So you have something like loggers, you have something like the database connections, you have something like some fixed values, for example, mathematically you have pi values, right? Something that is that will not be changed. Okay, will not be changed. If you want to load such things in the beginning before even performing execution, there you will use the static block. Let's try to understand the control flow. Okay, so let us try to trace this. Okay, so right, compiler will generate two dot class. I am directly jumping into dot class. So b dot class and a dot class. Okay, and let me take the JVM directly. You have the JVM. I'm skipping the compilation part. JVM. Okay. And what is the command that you will give to execute the Java code? Java space A, because inside the class A you have the main method, isn't it? So because of this command, the a dot class file will be loaded. Okay, at the time of loading, right? At the time of loading, it is about to get loaded. At the time of loading, this static block will be executed, right? The static block that is inside the class A will get executed. Of course, you are correct. It is like SVA. Fine, this is completely fine, right? Then what? Inside static blocks are recognized and executed, and the main thread will be created. And main thread get access to the main method. Firstly, it will try to find the main method inside the class A. Right? Inside the class, it will try to find the main method. Of course, there is a main method. All the instructions inside the main method will get executed. What is the first instruction? First instruction, you have what? B obj equal to new b. So B class, in order to deal with the class B, first the respective dot class file needs to get loaded, isn't it? So this dot class file will be loaded inside the JVM. Okay, sir. This is getting loaded inside the JVM. First it has to get loaded, then the object creations, then the calling the methods, or assigning values, that will happen later. First you have to make sure that this dot class file is available to the JVM. JVM will take care of this, because the main thread is dealing with the object creation of class B. So first of all, class B will be loaded automatically. It will be loaded because dynamically you wanted to create an object for class B, so it has to get loaded, right? At the time of loading, the static block will be recognized and executed, right? SBB. Yes. Okay, good. And the object will be created in the heap area. We know these things already, and I don't think much discussion is required for this. Okay. Object creation is will be happening in the heap area, obj. Fine. Okay. Now focus on next instruction. What is the next instruction? Next instruction here, system.out.println mm, right? So mm will be displayed in the console. So far things are going. Okay. Now the confusion starts. Now what is happening? P obj equal new b. So this time dot class file is already loaded. Right? It will be loaded only once. It is already available to the JVM. JVM has already the b dot class file. Why it will load again? So the conclusion is dot class files will be loaded only once. Dot class file will be loaded only once. It is already loaded. Only static blocks will be recognized at the time of loading. Static blocks will be recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file. But this dot class file is already loaded. That the static block is already recognized. It will not get loaded again, isn't it? It is already available to the JVM. That's the reason why the second time the static block is not getting executed, because it is already inside the JVM. Are you getting this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Making sense? So I can say that please be in this point is very important. Please be informed that the dot class files are loaded automatically, but only once. right? Even though you keep creating an object, so you keep creating an object, and again if you create an object for the class A, now you tell me with your understanding, what would happen if I create an object for the class A now? Does it make any difference in the output? Do you think there will be any difference? Output is going to be same now with respect to
Yes, sir.
static blocks. There will be no difference because these dot class files are loaded already. Okay. Now another question, right? Another tricky question. Try to answer this. Now you should help me with the sequence of execution. Sense? Sense with. Okay. Can someone tell me what would be the output now? You can tell me.
SBBB,
Only one change I have added is what? The only one change that I have done is I have used the extends keyword, and this time the two classes are in a relationship. Okay, right? And every class has a static block, right? And having said this, what would be the output if I perform the execution? Any idea? Any insights? Any thoughts?
SBBB, SBA.
SBB, SBA, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Let's try to understand the flow. Okay, try to understand the flow. What is exactly happening behind the scenes? SBB, SBA, right? Is correct. 100%. Now see what is happening exactly happening. So till now we are dealing with two. I can say that two independent class, and these two classes are not in any relation. They are completely independent. Now this class, okay, and this time I have a program and I have two classes which are in a relationship. What kind of relationship? Parent-child relationship. Okay. So what did I just say before? The when you have a class before the extends keyword, that is going to be a child class or the subclass or the derived class. Okay? This is a child class, and after the extends keyword, the class that you are going to use is going to be the parent class, right? So B class is the parent class and A class is child class, and these two classes are not independent class. They both are in a relationship of what? Parent-child relationship. Right? This is the parent. This is the child. And you have what? You have the child. Parent-child relationship. Because just because of this extends keyword. If you are not using any extends keyword, no issues. Nothing. They are independent. They remain independent. Now they are in a relationship because there is an inheritance here. Right? And again, the moment you start performing the compilation, always remember compiler will ensure that you have two classes, two dot class files will be generated. You have 10 classes, 10 dot class files will be generated. In our example, you have two classes, so two dot class files will be generated. A dot class file and B dot class file. So compiler has done its job successfully, and you have to execute it, right? So to perform the execution, you need to activate the JVM. So JVM, to activate the JVM, you need to load the dot class file which has the main method. So class A has the main method. So inside the class A, and we have the main method, right? So you have to load the A dot class file. So Java C space A. This command will ensure that A dot class file will be loaded. Now understand it. At the time of loading this A dot class file, this A dot class is a class which has a relationship or which has a relationship with another class. This relationship another class. Right? You are using the extends keyword. You are using the extends keyword. So A class is the child class and B class is the parent class. B class is the parent class. Mostly the parent class will be loaded. A parent class will be loaded. Parent dot class file will be loaded. At the time of loading the parent dot class file, the respective static block gets executed. SBB will get executed. For example, we get priority to the parents, isn't it? When you board a train, when you board a bus, okay, we ensure that we will allow the parents to get in comfortably. Same thing is happening here. Okay, not a relevant comparison. Think like that. Parent class will be loaded because they are in relationship, right? So at the time of loading, this SPV will be executed. Then the child class will be loaded. So both are getting loaded one after another. Both are getting loaded one after the another, right? So secondary child class is getting loaded, isn't it? So child class is getting loaded. So the respective static block of the child class, when the respective static block of the child class will get executed, SBA. So that's why the output you see what SBB and SBA. Making sense, everyone? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One more example. Try to answer this. So I have a static block. Right? I am taking something like this. Okay. Let me take something like 1, 2, and 3. Maybe. Can you guess the output now?
One, two, three, four.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good, good, good. Correct. Hope you are getting this now. Huh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the moment I remove the what? The moment I remove the relationship, now tell me the answer.
3, 4, 1, 2.
3.
Ah,
Think better. Think better.
3, 1, 2, 4.
Correct. 3, 1, 2, 4. Because this will be executed. Then B dot class will be loaded. At the time of loading, this will be executed. This will be executed. Then last, this instruction has to get executed. Isn't it? C space B dot job. 3, 1, 2, 4. Now you see, right? You understand the sequence now. It's getting executed sequentially from top to bottom order. There is no no randomization. Like it is not getting executed randomly. So that is what you have to understand here, right? And now you tell me the answer. Does it make any difference now? What do you think?
No, no, sir, no difference.
No difference, because ideally object class has no static block, right? So the control, I mean the at the time of loading the dot class file, it will check. Okay, the control will be transferring there to check if there are any static block. But ideally there are no static blocks, so the output remains the same, right? Now, okay, last manipulation. B equal to new. What is the answer?
1, 2 only.
1, 2, correct. Perfect. Java C space A dot Java, Java. Okay. So now so far we have understood about the static blocks. Now we will understand the interaction between the static blocks and non-static blocks. When I say the interaction, very simple. The interaction, what I mean actually is, so this is the static block, and I have another instance block. The moment you remove static keyword, this becomes what? This is an instance block. Instance block. I want to see the interaction between these two. Just want to see the interaction between these two. I don't know how many of you remember this or not. So let me give you the program. Let's see who is going to answer this comfortably. Right? So I don't want to deal with multiple classes. So I have a static block and I have a non-static block. 1 and 2, and I have a constructor. So I have a static block, I have a non-static block, and I have a constructor, right? So I have a static block, I have a non-static block, I have a constructor. If I ask you the question like, so how many class I have, you would say you have only one class, which is class A. Second question is how many methods you have inside the class A. What you would say, sir, there is only one method, which is a main method. So how many blocks are there if I ask you? So I am not being very specific. Blocks means this is a block, this is also a block, and this is also a block, and this is also a block. I have to be very specific. I have to ask you how many static blocks are there? One static block. How many non-static blocks are there? One non-static block. How many constructors are there? One constructor is there explicitly. One constructor explicitly, right? The moment I start creating an object, a obj equal to new a. So what would be the answer?
1, 2, 3.
Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Why 1, 2, 3? Very simple. We have understood this a lot of times. Static block will be given the first priority. Always the priority will be for static block because they get executed before even the main method, right? Before even the main thread. Before even before even giving birth to main thread, the static blocks are recognized and executed. After the execution, you are creating an object with a new keyword, right? And you are calling the A constructor. So this is the A constructor. Before executing the respective constructor, if there are any instance block, that will be recognized and executed. So there is an instance block. Before executing this will be executed. Then this will be executed. That's why the output is what? Output is 1, 2, 3. So the moment I start doing the object creation once again for the second time, what will be the output?
1, 2, 3 only.
1, 2, 3. Come again.
I think 3 will double them.
Let us see. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Right, correct. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we start now. This is also giving us the complete picture that the static blocks are executed only once. Always it will be executed only once. But instance blocks are not like that. Whenever you are creating an object, with a new keyword, every time before calling that respective constructor, the instant block will be executed. There are no restrictions for the instance block, but there is a restriction, not a restriction. There is a case in the static block, which is what? Which is that they get recognized and executed only once at the time of loading the .class file. But there are no restrictions for this. If you want to execute it n number of times, you can execute it, no issues. So this is a typical example, right? So let me do one more thing. Now you answer this to me. I have a class A and I have a class B. Hope this is visible. Hence, okay, I am not taking any instructions inside the main method. The main method is completely empty. For your observation, I am saying it. The main method is completely empty. If I just run this code, what would be the output? Can anyone?
5, 6, 1, 2. 5, 6, 1, 2.
5, 6.
1, 2.
You have to.
5.
Only 5 on one answer will be that. Why? Because let me repeat you. Okay, it is like see only the constructors or the instance block, they come into the picture only when you create an object. So there is no object creation, isn't it? Have we created any object for the constructors? I mean, for the respective class, no object creation is there. So only static blocks are recognized. I have used the extends keyword. So firstly, b.class file will be loaded. So 5 will be, this will be executed. Then a.class file will be loaded. This will be executed. That's why the output is 5, 1. Okay. Now the moment I start creating an object for the class A or B, A obj equal to new A. Let me say A obj equal to new A. Now what would be the answer?
Five, six, one, two, three.
No. Okay. Let us trace this. Just like we over here will trace this. First, what would happen? Class A is having relationship class B, right? First, class B parent class static block will be executed, right? 5 will be executed. Firstly, 5 will be displayed in the console. Secondly, child class static block will be recognized in this. 1 will be displayed in the console. Then the main thread will be created. Main thread gets access to the main method. Object is created for the class A. Class A. Object is created for the class A. Right? 5 1 is the right. Object is created for the class A. So A class constructor has to get called. However, inside the A class constructor, so there is a call for super class constructor. I think I need to use the paintbrush. So this is the last example that I will go. Let me see the output. Let us see the output and we will come to the conclusion. 5 1 6 7 2 3. Okay, remember this. Focus here, everyone. This one example will answer all your questions. All your doubts will be created just by this last example respect to the interaction between the static blocks and the instance block. We separate these two classes for the better observation. Oh, I have a class B here and I do have the class A here. I have just separated these two classes. Okay, and let me take it as one piece. Right. So what is the way you save it with A.Java? Right. So this is the source code, and you have the compiler. Okay. So give the instruction of the compiler Java C space A dot, right, and this A dot Java will be loaded inside the compiler. The job of the compiler is to do the compilation and generate the dot class. How many dot class file will be generated? 2 dot class files. A dot class and B dot class. So they are generated. Then for the execution, you depend upon the JVM, right? JVM comes into the picture. Okay. So at the time of compilation, many things will be happening, right? So there is a super keyword. So the compiler will place a super keyword, right? For the respective constructors, it will place a super keyword. We have seen these things in the constructor class. And every class will be extended to the object class. If there are no parent class, object class is going to be the parent. These things will majorly happen by the compiler. Every class will be treated as a default class. This is a default class, and this is also the default class. I'm just keeping it as default. Right? Then you give a command to execute the code. The command is what? Java space A. Right? So because of this command, A dot class file will be loaded. But this A has a relationship with what? It has a relationship with B. So you are using extends keyword. A has relationship with B. First B dot class file will be loaded. Time of loading this, the static block of B will be executed. Right? So this will be get executed first. The output is going to be what? 5 will be displayed in the console. Secondly, A dot class file will be loaded. Parent and child. The time of running the A dot class file, the static blocks are recognized and executed automatically. So 5 followed by 1. After this, right, the main thread gets created. The main thread get access to the main method. Only one instruction is there. What is that? You are calling what? A constructor, right? So control will be jumped from here to here. A constructor call is happening. Okay. The first instruction is the super class constructor call. Super is what? You will replace that super with the parent class. Is what? B. Super is replaced with the parent class. So you are calling what? The constructor from the child class. Okay. From here, the control will be transferred to the what? B constructor. Right? super call object will be create object class. It will go to what? It will go to the object class. In the object class, there will be nothing in the object class, right? After this constructor call, okay, before executing the instructions, the respective instance block will be executed. 6 will be displayed in the console. Right? After this, the respective constructor will be executed. 7 will be displayed in the console. After this, the backtracking will happen. Okay? Then the instruction inside the A constructor will get executed. Before executing this, the respective instance block will get executed. 2 will be displayed in the console. Followed by what? Followed by the respective instructions inside the constructor. 3 will be displayed in the console. We get what? 5, 1, 6, 7, 2, 3. 5, 1, 6, 7, 2, 3. This super keyword indirectly, you don't see that. You have to, you have to think that there is a super keyword. This is making the actual difference. That's why the output is like this. Making sense, everyone? You're getting
Yes,
it?
sir.
Right? Think
Yes, sir.
that super keyword is there, and always remember that executing the instruction inside the constructor, before executing the actual instructions, the respective class instance block will be given priority. They get executed, then the actual instruction inside the constructor will get executed. And the moment it goes backtracking, okay, backtracking is what? From here, okay, the call was happened from here to here, from A to B, from A constructor to B constructor. So again, the instructions inside this, for executing this instruction, we'll check for any instance block that gets executed, then the respective instructions inside the constructor gets executed. And after executing all this, the main thread will be destroyed and JVM will be shut. So this is the common interaction between the static block and instance. Interaction between instance. Only you do not you just solve this examples. You just remember these key points. Okay, what is the key points? They are recognized at the time of the dot class file to the JVM. First point, it gets executed automatically, and they are loaded only once. Only once. This is the condition. Okay, this you have to remember. Right? And you have also to remember what, if you have a relationship between the parent and there is a relationship between two classes, the parent class dot class file will be loaded. Priority will be on the parent class dot class file. There is no relationship. Only if you create an object for that particular class, then the respective dot class file will be loaded. This is all about the dot class files. So the major advantages of the static blocks will be understood. We will be discussing project, right? I am going to take a project, right? Mini project. Over there, you will understand the importance of what static blocks. Okay, so this is all about the static blocks. The next topic is, I think we have to cover the static import, that will be covered tomorrow. Okay, don't worry, I will be covering syllabus on time. By April 30th, everything will be completed.